Sorry. So while Ashtanga Yoga can be begun anywhere, at every step we need to check ourselves and see why we are not succeeding, why we are not getting the result Patanjali wants us to get. Because he has prescribed this for a particular purpose. And if we are not getting those results, we must look back. And when you look back, when you come down to Yama Niyama part, you find that Yama Niyama, as it is said to be practiced all through. I'm sorry, I'll have to answer the doorbell today. Seemingly is a very disturbed day. So Yama and Niyama, as I told you, they are like railings. Let me show you the next slide that's what is said about Yama Niyama in our scriptures. They are like gatekeepers of the highest. Say Vivek Khyati is the highest. And Yama Niyama are like gatekeepers over there. Means you may have been able to do dharana, dhyan, samadhi, etc. and reach there. But if you have not been practicing Yama and Niyama at those subtler and subtler and subtler levels, you will not have the gates of the Viveka Khyati opening to you. मेरे को अक्सर सांप सीढ़ी वाला गेम याद आता है कि वो सांप सीढ़ी में 99 वाला सांप होता है ना, तो यदि आप वहां तक पहुंच भी जाओ लेकिन यम नियम नहीं प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हो तो 99 वाला सांप तुमको खा जाएगा. You can't reach the end. So Yama and Niyama are that kind. I want to stop here and ask you something here. May I? चाबी ले जाना इधर से. मिली? I will stop sharing and talk something to you just. Okay, Vikas Wadekar, I see you also have joined. Welcome. How?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you learn about this webinar, Vikas?
One of the yoga group.
One of the yoga group. You are attached to the Yoga Institute or?
No, the other. In fact, I was privileged to attend your sessions also in Yoga Institute. I was doing teachers training and so you're taking Sankhya.
Achha,
so
you were at the
5 years back.
TTC?
2-year TTC, yes, ma'am.
Oh, which year was this?
So I completed 2018.
Okay,
so 15 to 18.
How nice. Welcome. Yes, the 2-year TTC class is such that you don't always come to know the faces also.
Correct. Yeah.
Chalo, very nice. Thank you for having to join.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I want to ask you all here. This is in actually connection with a small incident that happened. I was out on Leh Ladakh trip recently and met a lot of other people and a couple of people who had done Yoga Institute ka teachers training course. So it was very nice, don't know everybody, just like Vikas, I don't know, but he has done my class. So also there were 2 other such people. And one of them who was very, very active and enthusiastic. And she had decided that on the yoga day, we will do a yoga session whichever hotel we are in. So she was trying to enthuse everybody, throughout those 2-3 days before the yoga day. And in one such conversation that she was having with somebody, she was telling that person that how we must all get together and do yogasana session, this, that, and the other. She's saying, you see, I am a very practical person, she says. Theory is all hers, and she points out to me. So I was looking around. I said, what do you mean? Is yama and niyama theory? Now that question was kind of, that was not the right environment to discuss that kind of a question. If she had an answer, she would have given, but she didn't have an answer. Anyway, that conversation stopped there, but it went on in my mind, and I want to carry it forward to you. And that is what I want to ask you. Is yama and niyama theory? She did not answer, but I want the answer from the four of you. What do you think? You can either turn your audios on and answer, or you can write it in the chat. Or you can...
My take is,
Thumbs up.
yeah, yes, sir. My take is asanas and pranayams you can't do 24 hours a day. But
No,
yama
the
is
question
something that,
is yama
yeah, coming to
niyama
that.
theory or
Coming to
practical?
that. Yeah, coming to that. Yeah. So
Is yama
yama is
niyama
something that you'll
theory
have to.
or practical is the only question. Forget about everything else.
Achha, that's okay.
Is yama
It's
niyama
definitely
practical or theory?
Practical.
Okay. Priyanka, Sheetal, Sana.
Practical, ma'am.
Okay.
Mama, I believe it's practical to practice, but when it comes to the explain to someone, they will be convinced when you will achieve something. So I think it's totally practical, and just to discuss it will be theory.
Okay. Sana.
Yes, ma'am, it's practical.
Okay. So in essence, knowledge-wise, we all agree it is practical. Now, what you also need to further investigate your own answer. When do we call something as practical? स्कूल में हमारे पास साइंस के प्रैक्टिकल होते थे, किसी किसी स्कूल में मैथ्स का भी प्रैक्टिकल होता था, ज्योग्राफी का भी प्रैक्टिकल होता था. योग में हमारे आसन प्राणायाम के प्रैक्टिकल होते हैं, वो दिखाई देते हैं. यस. एंड प्रैक्टिकल की एक और खास बात होती है कि प्रैक्टिकल एक बार सीख लिया, उसके बाद में उसको रेगुलरली प्रैक्टिस करना होता है, तब उसका असर होता है. करेक्ट. और रिपीटेडली आपके टीचर भी उसको चेक करते हैं, है ना. एक बार ऐसा तो नहीं होता ना, जैसे आपने चलो पर्वत आसन सीखा, आप लोग सब टीचर ही हो, तो मैं सीखने की बात नहीं करती हूँ, चलो सिखाने की बात करती हूँ. तो आपने पर्वत आसन सिखाया क्लास को, थ्योरेटिकल होता है उसमें काफी सारा. करेक्ट. आप उसका चार्ट भी दिखाओगे, स्टेप्स भी दिखाओगे, डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन भी करोगे, लेकिन वो सब करने के बाद में फिर आप क्या करते हो? यू विल मेक देम डू इट. करेक्ट. और आप उनको चेक भी करोगे. ठीक है, आज करीबन सबने फाइनल पोज ले आए, कर लिया, आपको संतोष है कि हाँ इन्होंने ठीक से किया. उसके बाद में आप फिर दोबारा कभी पर्वत आसन के ऊपर नहीं जाओगे, ऐसा है? बल्कि आगे की क्लास में आप बार बार पर्वत आसन फिर से भी प्रैक्टिस कराओगे और फिर से भी उनको करेक्ट करोगे. नहीं करोगे? और प्रैक्टिस करते करते ही उनमें सुधार भी आएगा, वो उनको भी अनुभव होगा और आप भी उसको पॉइंट आउट करोगे कि हम आधी मिनट ही रख पा रहे थे हाथ ऊपर, अभी हम पूरा 1 मिनट रख पा रहे हैं, 2 मिनट रख पा रहे हैं. डायनामिक से हम उसको स्टैटिक पे लेके जाएंगे. करेक्ट. ये बाकायदा आपके सिखाने में भी और सामने वालों के करने में भी प्रैक्टिकल क्लास है. आपको भी अनुभव होगा और स्टूडेंट्स को भी बाकायदा उसका अनुभव होगा. यम नियम का क्लास कैसा दिखता है आपका? जब आपने यम नियम सीखा था या आप जब यम नियम सिखाते हो, does it look like a practical class? Does it feel like a practical class? Any of these aspects are present? After that first कि भाई पर्वत आसन कैसा होता है या प्राणायाम 2 कैसा होता है, वो सिखाने के बाद में एक बार करा दिया और खत्म। यम नियम का हम यही करते हैं। पतंजलि ने ये कहा है, इन शब्दों का ये अर्थ है, और बहुत ज्यादा हुआ तो एक कोई किस्सा सुना देंगे, एक किसी का एग्जाम्पल दे देंगे, कोई आइडियल बता देंगे, या एक कहानी सुना देंगे। उसके बाद में वो प्रैक्टिस हो रहा है या उसको कैसे और आगे सुधारना है, उसका जीवन में उपयोग हो रहा है, वो आप कभी करते हो? दोबारा उसको विजिट करते हो? जस्ट जाके याद करो अपनी क्लास को, और यदि कभी सिखाया है तो अपनी क्लास को जो तुमने सिखाई है। ये प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट पूरी तरह से मिसिंग है। तो कोई आश्चर्य नहीं है यदि हमारी इस बहना ने कहा कि ये थ्योरी सिखाती है। तुम सांख्य को थ्योरी कहो तब तो फिर भी कोई समझ सकता है, लेकिन यम नियम को हम थ्योरी कहें, ये तो विडंबना है। और कहें ही नहीं, हम बाकायदा उसको उसी ढंग से ट्रीट करते हैं। मैं जब से मैंने योग सीखा है, मैं स्कूल में सिखाती रही हूँ, तो मेरा तो जोर यम नियम के ऊपर ही रहा है। और हमेशा I have been looking for newer methods, newer ways, and creative ways of how to incorporate Yama Niyama in the life of my students and myself. So I have been constantly working at it. And believe me, Yama Niyama, teaching of Yama Niyama, learning of Yama Niyama has to have this component of practice in it, revisiting it, reassessing it every time, and progressing gradually, surely, and getting subtler and subtler with every progressive practice. That is why I showed you these two slides. एक तो वो बहिरंग योग है, बाहर दिखना चाहिए, बाहर इंटरैक्शन होना चाहिए। सबसे ज्यादा बाहर का कुछ है तो वो है यम नियम, और उसके अंदर प्रैक्टिकल का बहुत बड़ा हिस्सा है। सबसे बड़ा हिस्सा कि रिपीटेड प्रैक्टिस, repeated reassessment, repeated correction, and fine tuning it. ये कंपोनेंट यदि हमारा यम नियम में नहीं है तो हम यम नियम प्रैक्टिकल नहीं कर रहे हैं। हम अपने आप को बेवकूफ बना रहे हैं। और बेवकूफ कैसे बना रहे हैं? यम नियम नहीं करके नहीं, हम आसन और प्राणायाम को योग कह के अपने आप को बेवकूफ बना रहे हैं। क्योंकि आसन प्राणायाम, आसन का सिद्ध होना क्या होता है? द्वंद्वान अभिघात। पतंजलि ने बहुत क्लियरली कहा है कि the opposite cease to be disturbing you, doesn't take you this way, doesn't take you that way. और हम आसन का क्या मापदंड रखते हैं? या आई एम फीलिंग क्वाइट काम टुडे, 2 घंटा, आधी घंटा, कभी कभी तो 2 मिनट आसन में से सीधा बाहर निकल के ही हम देखा है कई बार आसन क्लास से लोग छूटते हैं, बाहर आते हैं योगा इंस्टीट्यूट के, वहां उनका ड्राइवर आया नहीं होता है तो फोन करके उसके ऊपर चिल्लाना शुरू। इतना हमारे पर आसन का प्रभाव होता है। तो क्यों नहीं हो रहा है? आसन का परिणाम क्यों नहीं मिल रहा है? हमने कभी सोचा कि ये जो रेलिंग है, इट हैज टू पास थ्रू आसन ऑल्सो, प्राणायाम ऑल्सो। आसन प्राणायाम का सही परिणाम लाने के लिए corresponding practice of yama niyama is a must. If we are not doing that, we are not revisiting, we are not at all understanding Yama Niyama. And therefore, all the rest of yoga practice is not producing the necessary results for you. Asana and pranayam are not for curing diseases. Health benefits are side effects. They are not the real effect. They are not the necessary outcome of asana pranayam. It is not to be done for the sake of being healthy and all that. No. It is to be done for the sake of dvandvana bhighata. And pranayam is to be done for chale vate chale chittam. So nischalam. The vata has to be able to stop stambha vritti. If with pranayam you cannot achieve stambha vritti, even for few moments, if you are not even tasted it, you are not doing pranayam. And only one place has Patanjali very clearly stated in this eightfold path that pranayam can be practiced, can be fruitfully done only after mastering asana. We are not even listening to that. There are people who will come say, "नहीं, मेरे को आसन नहीं सीखना, मेरे को प्राणायाम ही सीखना है." And there are yoga teachers who will oblige to no great effect, to no good effect. So what I'm trying to say is we are creating problems for ourselves if we are not regularly reassessing, revisiting our practice of the eightfold path of yoga and focusing only on asana pranayam and wrongly attributed benefits of asana and pranayam. Pranayam के लिए मैंने ये एक और चार्ट बनाया था, but we can skip it. I already told you about the stambha vritti. That is enough. This much I can revisit for pranayam, that the thought at the time of death is sum total of all the pranas. And that makes udana light, to rise to the virtuous world, or heavy to fall to beastly worlds, or remain floating in the middle. This has a significance in our progress. Sum total of the pranas at the end of life. End of life में वही आएगा जो हम regularly practice कर रहे होंगे. Yes, suddenly something new will not come to your mind at that point of time when you're about to leave the body. At that point of time, what will come to your mind are your attitudes that you have been having, the habits that you have been having. Yes, if they are of the positive type, virtuous type, then you will rise to higher worlds. If they are of the negative type, you will fall to the lower worlds. In Sankhya Karika, there is very clear indication of the sattvic lokas and the tamasic lokas. Human being the rajasic loka, floating in the middle. And this is what makes human unique and very, very special. Why? Because it is floating, it is capable of change. That's not enough. Most importantly, it is capable of choosing. Because it has been given this ability of rajas dominance, it is capable of choosing. Humans can choose whether to go to the virtuous world or to fall to the lower worlds, beastly worlds as it is called. So we have a choice, and the question is, do we exercise this choice wisely? A yoga student will exercise this choice to move towards more sattvic and virtuous world. So more and more of sattva needs to be increased. And how do you make use of each steps of Ashtanga Yoga for sattva you increase? Are the various sutras given by Maharshi Patanjali. The thought, so how to make yourself light? All these are the ways of being light, the yamas and the niyamas. To rise above the beastly behavior of human beings, you can use yamas and niyamas. Do we make use of yama niyama in this manner? Do we feel lighter with the practice of yama niyama, the way we are doing it, the way we know them? No. What instead we do? In fact, I have, in all my 33, 35 years of being into yoga, since 1986 when I started, I find most yoga teachers feel, yama niyama, yeah, we practice, we don't do hurting anybody, we don't definitely steal, I'm quite satisfied with what I have, and all these kind of things people will say. They do not even understand the meaning of yama and niyama. Yamas and niyamas are attitudes of the mind. हम हमारे बिहेवियर से अपना एटीट्यूड प्रदर्शित करते हैं. You generally infer people's attitude from their behavior. है कि नहीं? हम कहते हैं ना, जैसे अभी पिछले दिनों एक वीडियो वायरल हो रहा था. This gentleman, he took oath and he went and touched the feet of his elder brother. कि कितना संस्कारी है, इसके अंदर कितने अच्छे attitudes हैं, right? Very virtuous. So we conclude from people's behavior what their attitude are. And so also our attitude is displayed through our behavior. And that is why yama niyama are bahiranga yoga. But they are not just the external behavior. The external behavior is only a manifestation. Yama niyama are supposed to be an attitude of mind. You must know that nothing happens in the external world without first happening in the mind. Ahimsa cannot be outside unless and until it is the way you think is of ahimsa. So understand this, that yama niyama are practical, not just for saying, but you can actually get in touch with your own self with yama and niyama. If you are not doing that, this is what you're doing in your life. Yes? 30 साल से 40 साल से हम योग कर रहे हैं, लेकिन हमारी प्रोग्रेस हार्डली कुछ है. अब आप गाड़ी को पीछे से धक्का दे रहे होगे तो वो कितना प्रोग्रेस करेगी? If you are putting the cart in front of the horse, वो कितना तेज चलेगी? उतना ही हमारी योग की यात्रा हो रही है. Only that much we are progressing in the yoga way of life. Because this is the way we are using it. We have put asanas and pranayam, meditation before yamas and niyamas. And this is why we are not achieving chitta prasadana. There cannot be peace and happiness which is lasting in our life, because we are not making the appropriate use of the techniques, of the knowledge, of the skill that we have. I'll skip this testimonial slide for now because I have lost some time in the beginning. I'll show some testimonials later on. This is most important one. And after this, maybe I'll show some testimonials. How the yama niyama are rightly placed against asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. Let's understand that there are 3 basic levels of our learning and living. Spiritual तो आता है तब आता है, लेकिन there is emotions, there's the physical level, and there is a mental level. The 4th dimension is the spiritual. in all these 4 dimensions, we need to grow. We are attracted by that spiritual, by its very talk of it and whatever is figured out by us for it. But the spiritual is possible only after all these 3 are cleared. That is, you are well balanced in your emotions. If you are well balanced with respect to your physical being, and when you're well balanced mentally. The yama niyama are for bringing about cleaning up all your emotions. When your emotions are cleaned, they are all sattvic, and you're not influenced by negative, positive feelings. They are all the same for you. You choose your emotions rather than emotions kind of overpowering you. Then you are said to be well balanced in your emotions. And yama niyama, Sri Yogendra Ji in his book Guide to Yoga Meditation has very clearly stated, yama niyama are for emotional balance. Now, tell me, have you ever heard this before? And if you have you practiced it in that manner? How much control do you have over your emotions? If something is under your control, then it will listen to you. Can you tell yourself, now feel sad, now feel happy, now feel love? Can you make yourself do that? That means your emotions are not at the command of your will. You need to have a will that will command your emotions. Then your emotional energy is available to you for your higher growth. Body, physical balance, that is brought about by practice of asana and pranayama. We try to do more difficult asanas, balancing asanas, standing on the toes and or sitting for long hours for in Padmasana and Siddhasana and all that. All that we try. We try to hold our breath for long and increase our counts of breath and create the shunya state and all that. Yes, we do that. But when we fail, when we do not succeed, we don't try to see how emotions are interfering in it. We do not even acknowledge that. And we don't come back and improve upon this so that this can improve. Any which way, but asanas and pranayam are for your physical balance. Asana more for the physical, pranayam more for your physiological. Then mental balance. How the mental clearing happens? By pratyahara. The mind is diverted outside through the senses. So all the senses, the karmendriyas as well as the jnanendriyas, need to be brought under control by the practice of pratyahara, and then the choice has to be made, as in dharana, the choice of the object for concentration. So all that clarity of being able to choose one thing is possible only when your indriyas are not taking your mind away all the time. So then only dharana is possible. When that happens, that is when the ground is laid for your spiritual progress. And that is when you can actually practice some amount of dhyana, progress to samadhi, and have some hope of being able to reach Viveka Khyati. This is the way your Ashtanga Yoga works for you. When there is impurity in any of these levels, it will be seen in the spiritual base also, and it is going to interfere with your dhyana and samadhi. So unless and until you sit for dhyana and immediately you are in dhyana, know it that you are not ready for it. You sit for dhyana for 20 minutes, of which at least 10 to 15 minutes you are able to do dhyana, if not for the full 20 minutes. Then also it is some good work done. That also means that there is still certain amount of debris at emotional, physical, or mental level, which is interfering and spoiling the grounds of the spiritual progress. So, if all this bothers you, you will understand why it is necessary. This you have learned, you are practicing to quite extent. This also you're doing to somewhat extent, but this is totally neglected. And let me tell you, this one is the strongest. Why I'm telling you this? I will, okay, no, I'll come back to it later. एक मेरे को बताओ. You must have appeared for examination sometime or the other in life, right? School में हमने सबने exam दिए. And it's a common thing कि we have learned everything, studied everything, prepared for it. लेकिन कहीं कुछ nervousness आ जाता है, doubt आ जाता है, and you're not able to put down everything that you have learned. Nervousness. क्योंकि मन यहाँ से वहाँ भटक गया. दूसरा एक, if you have prepared for your speech, you're giving your speech in public, and suddenly in the front of that large audience, that overwhelm happens, and you forget your speech, though you knew it pit pat. क्या हुआ? मन ने साथ नहीं दिया. Any of you who do cooking will know कि जिस दिन मन से खाना नहीं बनाया है, हालांकि रेसिपी वही यूज की है, लेकिन उस दिन खाना अच्छा नहीं बनता है. आप ऑफिस में भी कोई काम कर रहे हो, बॉस ने जबरदस्ती दे दिया है, आज तुम्हारा मन नहीं है, उसको कर रहे हो, तो उसमें गलतियां हो ही जाती है. क्यों? Because the path from the head to the hand is through the heart. Unless and until हमारा मन उस काम में नहीं लगता है, तब तक हम उस काम को अच्छे से नहीं कर सकते. We cannot produce quality work if we are not interested in it, if we don't put our heart to it. कहते हो ना, मन से करना, तद जप तदर्थ भावना. ऐसा एक सूत्र है ना जप के बारे में कि उसका अर्थ और भावना के साथ में करोगे तो उसमें पावर आएगा. Then it will manifest whatever it is meant to. So मन, भावना मन का हिस्सा है. So without that, nothing can be properly manifested. And you saw just now that it is this, even by the yoga practitioners, even by the stalwarts of yoga, yama niyama for emotional management are not given enough importance to, and there is nothing that you know which will teach you to practice the yama niyama in a manner the way Patanjali has said it. Ahimsa has to be practiced. How do you know that you're practicing ahimsa? When people around you, when the surroundings around you are also non-violent, that is when you know that you are practicing ahimsa. And as much as you are practiced, that much will be the aura around you that will be peaceful and quiet. That's the test. That is the way you're supposed to progress towards ahimsa practice. How many of us measure ourselves from time to time and refine our practice of avidya, ahimsa? We don't have anything like practice of ahimsa. So how can you refine it? हम तो खाली कहानी किससे सुना के, बात बोल के, या एक आइडियल सामने रख के भूल जाते हैं. And by this standard of Maharshi Patanjali, was Gandhi ji a practitioner of ahimsa? In no way. He was shot. How could somebody have so much hinsa in presence of the practitioner, in presence of and in such near acquaintance, where ahimsa, parmo dharma, was the way of his life? That was the proof that ahimsa was not really in his attitude. So कहने को बहुत सारे examples हैं हमारे पास में, which we can show that Gandhiji would practice ahimsa in this manner, he would say this, and he would do this. But this was the proof. There cannot be a greater person than Patanjali to state such universal truths. So we need to understand that about ourselves also. हाँ, ये एक बहाना हो सकता है कि यार गांधी जी तक नहीं कर सके तो हम कौन से? अरे लेकिन पतंजलि ने यदि कहा है यानी कि मुमकिन है मनुष्य के लिए, ये समझो. You can be that मनुष्य. Why should Gandhi ji be only great? You can be greater. Yes. So trust yourself, trust Patanjali, and believe it that it is possible. सत्य की परिभाषा क्या दी है? One who speaks the truth. Whatever he speaks becomes truth. Yani one is in so much harmony with the environment that nothing but truth occurs to that person. And that is why whatever he or she speaks becomes truth. उसकी अपनी मर्जी, खुद का अहंकार बीच में नहीं आता. One is a slow, smooth channel, clarity, cleaning. Yama niyama are cleaning. Asana pranayam are cleaning. Our emotional aspect of our being has to be cleaned. That's what is being said by the Yoga Sutra. Okay. I will skip this for the time being, also to save a little time, and I'll come back to it. After having to hear all this about Ashtanga Yoga and Yama Niyama, can a yoga person live life fully like this? One might be wondering, अरे बाप रे, ये तो सब इतना मुश्किल है, कैसे करना चाहिए? But let me tell you, only a yoga person, only a practitioner of Yama Niyama can hope to live life fully and have this freedom. Yes, it is because we have not appropriately practiced Yama Niyama as much as we are capable of, and that is why one wonders how to reach such a life. How to reach such a life? You can, but you will need to undergo a transformation this kind. Just now you are walking and moving like this fellow. You all know larva. From the egg comes out larva, and the larva in the pupa undergoes so much transformation that it becomes a butterfly. Those of you who have studied simple biology and science in school will know this metamorphosis. That in the pupa, what happens is all the larval organs get disintegrated. Sab alag-alag ho jate hain. And it all becomes a mass of cells which reorganize themselves. That same cells, they just reorganize themselves and a butterfly is formed. Now, iski life mein aur iski life mein zameen aasman ka fark hai. The kind of life this one leads and the kind of life this one leads. So if you want to be free and fly, you really have to undergo a transformation. Yama niyama, asana pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Each and every step is a stage of metamorphosis. How much transformation have you undergone in practice of your yama, in practice of your niyama, in practice of your asana, in practice of your pranayam, and so on? Have we emerged as the butterfly? if we haven't really appropriately practiced. And let me tell you, the largest gap is not having to attend to emotional clearing. That is the self-help work that we all need to do. As I told you, for so many years, I've been into teaching of Yama Niyama and emotions management. Let me tell you, at one point of time, I used to consider myself a stoic. And one day, Dr. Jaydev, I was talking to him, reporting to him about something. And he told me that you are a very emotional person. And I did not want to believe it. But when Dr. Jaydev says it, you have to accept it. So I said, okay, I'll consider this, but I am not aware. Anyway, from that day onwards, I started watching myself more closely. I would look for feedback from near and dear ones. And very soon I realized how very emotional a being that I was. Where I considered myself stoic, what I was probably doing was pushing away the emotions from my sight. Everybody else could see I was being emotional. Only I, because didn't want to accept it, I was not seeing it. That was my way of being a stoic. When I realized that, and I went back to him, and it was like telling a sob story. And so he was laughing at me because he could always see it. And he then told me, why don't you look around and find out what is happening in today's time for emotional management. So while I was already doing Yama Niyama and I was practicing Pratipaksha Bhavana, I don't know how many of you understand this, that Pratipaksha Bhavana Sutra says Vitarka Badhane Pratipaksha Bhavanam. That is when you are faced with the opposite of Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, etc. Think of the opposite. But what is important is habituation to the contrary feeling. Means anytime you are faced with the Vitarka, habitually you should be able to get to, when you're faced with Hinsa, habitually you should be able to get to Ahimsa. Now, how to get that as a habit is actually explained in the next sutra. The next sutra, though many people will say, it says that if you don't practice this habitual to the contrary, you will be faced with infinite misery and unending ignorance. In spite of repeatedly having misery in life, in spite of facing our ignorance and suffering it repeatedly, we do not practice the Pratipaksha Bhavana the way it is said. Now, there is a method that I have devised also for practicing of this Pratipaksha Bhavana. But that was taking me very, very long time, very, very long time, until I found this modern day practice. Now, because I was practicing this, shifting to the contrary, and I found this modern day practice, which I now call as new yoga technique. The modern day practice, some of you may have heard and learned it. It is called emotional freedom technique. Why I find it suitable? One, that it is dealing with emotion, which I want to work on the Yama Niyama, because Pratipaksha Bhavana is a must. And without emotional balance, no amount of asana, pranayama, etc. is going to help, is very, very clear to me. And because I was also teaching Yama Niyama all the time, as a school teacher of yoga also, then also conducting children's camp at the Yoga Institute, any number of children's camp, and Yama Niyama would form the major part, trying to use all creative methods of making them practice and making them realize where they are with respect to each Yama Niyama. I found this emotional freedom technique working in a very short time. Like one thing, that I was very, very impulsive. In a jiffy, I could lose my temper. And when I lost my temper, I would do the Pratipaksha Bhavana ka stages. and it would slowly reduce. Then I would go through it again and again, slowly reduce. Again, I would go through it and reduce. Then, and not that it became a habit with me, but it was becoming a habit. But it was taking a very, very long time. This habitual impulsiveness was reducing, but in minuscule. Whereas with this technique, EFT, the tapping technique that I learned, I could overcome a peak of anger to having absolutely no anger and a balanced state, not even an after effect of anger, in 2 minutes. It takes just 2 minutes to do the technique. And in that 2 minutes, my 10 on 10 anger would become 0 on 10. So obviously it was magical. When I learned this technique, I did go and share it with Hansaji and Dr. Jaydev. And ever since then, I've been using it. They also encouraged me. And any one of you who want to be pioneers along with me, because when this YCB and QCI came into existence with yoga examination and yoga school accreditation, I was the consultant with the Ayush for this accreditation process, and representing the Yoga Institute in the technical committee of the Ayush. I had a chance to interact with all the top people of the important institutes of yoga in our country and some even abroad. And I have asked all of them, including the man who headed the Ayush Ministry Yoga Department, Dr. Basavaradi. He also said, I've written 3 books. One is on this new yoga technique with Yama, another with new yoga technique on Niyama, and another new yoga technique for Pratipaksha Bhavna. And I presented these 3 books to Dr. Basavaradi. And he himself has written so many books on yoga. But he said, these are different. I will have to read them carefully. I said, thank you for giving me that honor. And I'm still waiting for his feedback. But he definitely said that, yes, this is a very unique way. And one pat on my back he's already given. He is part of the UGC syllabus committee, where I am one of the experts contributing to the syllabus of UGC. And he has asked me to prepare the syllabus of this technique for giving it as an optional subject in the BSc Yoga course. So I am already preparing for that and writing it out like a course material, because it's going to start first in distance education syllabus of UGC. So that is my secret new yoga technique, which is in modern times called as EFT. I have modified it a little, but I called it a vritti changing technique because I don't stop it at just managing the emotion. I take it to klishta vritti. It can shift from there. And in any case, hinsa to ahimsa, asatya to satya, all this is very much possible with it. Not only that, you also can become aware of those aspects of you of hinsa, those aspects of you of stealing, those aspects of you of asantosh, which you are not aware of. Not only become aware, having become aware, you can change them to the opposite, make them the positive. And till today, nobody, anybody is making use of a technique for practice of Yama Niyama. Vritti changing technique with Suchitra Parekh is the only place where it is happening. And soon it will be part of UGC syllabus also. If you want, you can be the pioneer. Come and work with me. This is just to justify that how our emotions are an important part. A wild cat is like uncontrolled, uneducated emotion. The heart not in your control. Whereas if a wild animal is also tamed, then can be well under your control, and you can do a hell lot. All that energy is then available to you for use. The yoga begins by integration of head, heart, and hand. If your mind thinks something and your heart feels something else and your hands does something else and your mouth speaks something else, then you are a disintegrated person. A disintegrated being cannot practice yoga. You cannot be leading a yoga way of life if your head, heart, and hand are not well integrated. So for integration, all three have to be equally educated. They all have to be at the same level. When your heart is so uneducated, so uncontrolled, wild like a wild cat, you cannot be in a balanced state with just your head and your hand or speech. So it is very, very important कि जो भी करो वो दिल से करो. All your beliefs, all your patterns, all your habits, all your feelings are in tune with what your head is saying and what your mouth is speaking and your hand is doing. Yoga is all about self. It begins with self. How can yama niyama be outside of self? You cannot do hinsa on the outside. The hinsa is inside. Understand this. Even this much I know has not registered with you. What is registered is, okay, hinsa towards myself. No, I'm saying hinsa is in you. That need to be become aware of and changed. Habituation, that is deep inside you. And that is possible to do with this VCT. How VCT works? Layer by layer. You have to begin with whatever is uppermost. If behavior is what you see uppermost, you begin with the behavior. And then goal, जैसे कांदा छीलते हैं तो एक लेयर उतरता है तभी दूसरे के ऊपर काम हो सकता है ना. तो पतले वाला भी छिलका होता है ना. हमारा हर एक लेयर उतना पतला है. Yes, and that layer by layer we have to remove, peel off, remove the unwanted, and only then will we be truly able to change the tamasic vritti into sattvic one. Tamasic are all the vitarkas and sattvic are all the yama and niyama. So you can come join me in doing this course. I'm starting the third batch on 17th of July. The course is designed to be for 6 months, but my previous 2 batch ka experience is that it doesn't get over in 6 months because it is about personal growth. And very many of us take some time before we turn towards ourselves and start looking at yama niyama in that manner. So that initial stage, and then you need some time for yourself to get used to that technique, though it is very simple and small. I can show you one video to just let you see what the technique looks like. And thoda practice karna hota hai, and then I'm there to handhold. But little bit of independence with respect to that practice also is needed. So it does extend to 7 to 8 months at least, though the first batch became 1 year. Because I also waited कि ये नहीं अहिंसा में ये भी होना चाहिए, ये भी होना चाहिए. In the second batch, I learned that, okay, and this is the first level of learning. So let me not push too much of higher, subtler levels of ahimsa, satya, etc. I stopped myself at the gross attendance to it. All the posts that I would give in the Telegram, because besides meeting once a week on Zoom, there is every day some VCT tips given in the group, which you are supposed to practice for that day for at least 10 to 15 minutes and see the effect of it. Sometimes some people experience immediate effect. Some people feel the effect after an hour, 2 hours or whatever. Or some people take longer before they see some concrete result. Because we also should have the ability to observe, no? This observing ourselves is also another thing which does not easily come to everyone. So therefore, initial period takes time to learn all these things. and hence the course gets a little extended. You can be sure that you will have personal growth. That is something that you will be investing in by investing your time and money in this course. And definitely social and personal life will improve if all the yama niyamas you begin to understand properly and start practicing. Even to that little extent, you will actually see a change. Very often, people who have joined this course, the family would say, "Arey, aaj tere ko wo class ke liye jana hai na?" Because they find that the person has kind of calmed down so much that there is no fretting and fuming or shouting that is happening as a result of this calming down that has happened in this course, which is what the yoga also is expected to do. And that is why I call this technique as a new yoga technique also. And you can choose the attitude that you want to have. You can develop the desired attitude and thinking, which is of the yogic kind. Yes. And non-contributing habits you can drop. Yes, severe, strong habits also people have been able to drop by use of vritti changing technique, more so with yama and niyama. So please come join me and become the pioneer in using this technique for yama niyama and pratipaksha bhavna. I hope I have covered all the areas. Yes, there is a certificate at the end of the course. And there will not be proper solving of any personal issues, but smaller irritants that will keep coming in, that will definitely get resolved even by and by as we do VCT on some of those, because they will be related to your ahimsa, satya, asteya, etc. And they will get resolved. Any deeper personal issues, you will need to take a one-on-one session separately from the course with me, which is possible. And yes, there are advanced courses. As I told you, batch 1 went on to level 2 also in this very course itself. And of course, there are other courses that you can learn with me. What is the way to pay? This is the way to pay, and this is the amount that you will invest in terms of money. But understand what is the bigger investment is personal growth. If you are not in for personal growth, then this course is not for you. If you are not in for allowing yourself to undergo change, then this course is not for you. Understand that butterfly. In this course, you will be in the cocoon. You will actually undergo transformation. And each day you will see yourself being able to take that little flight, freedom from one or the other negative that is keeping you down and not allowing your full potential to exhibit and express itself. So, what are you thinking?
It's always glad to listen to you.
Okay. So, those of you who are ready to undergo transformation, please come and join me. Let me know either on the personal chat or in the group itself that you would like to join. So I'll add you to the course will be run on a Telegram group where every day the posting will be done. Whatever Zoom meetings we will have, the recordings will be posted in that same group. And you can go through the recording as many times as you need to, because you will need to go through the recording to correctly understand what you said and what was the effect of what others are saying also, because there has to be a learning happening with each other. The sharing is very, very vital. And you can definitely manage anger. People have even lost weight, though we've not worked on weight management in the course. But by doing this course, they have lost weight because the emotional clutter has cleared. So the weight was not in the body, it was really in the mind. The emotion clutter being cleared, their weight has reduced. So you can lead a more yoga way of life. I would be happy to see you in the class. If you have any questions, please ask. Any questions before joining or for joining?
No questions.
Okay, all questions are already answered.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a very wonderful session.
Thank you. Most welcome. These are some of the testimonials by some of the people who have done the VCT courses. Some of you may know Sumati. She's also a 2-year TTC student. She was a 2-year TTC student. Now she finished long ago.
Yeah, I know. She was there in my batch.
Okay, okay. And she was also around the same time. All these are yoga teachers. This one is a musician. Chandan, Jyoti, Sumati are yoga teachers. And this is a life coach. This is a testimonial by a lawyer. Practices in High Court. It's quite sensitive. I put it reality and not rather oversensitive to everything. Can you hear? Not realizing that that is not good for your own good. And get more sensitive towards my growth. This technique has empowered me, a person like me, who's quite sensitive. I put it reality and not rather oversensitive to everything. Except, not realizing that that is not good for your own good. And get more sensitive towards my growth. This technique has empowered me, a person like me, who's quite sensitive. I put it reality and not rather oversensitive to everything, except not realizing that that is not good for your own good. And get more sensitive towards my growth. This technique has empowered me, a person like me, who's quite sensitive. I put it reality and not rather oversensitive to everything, except not realizing that that is not good for your own. Okay, it's going in loop. And get more sensitive. That's the technique how also the mind changes the mind. If I just open here, everything is that's also very nice. Thank you so much. So much for sharing. Yeah. Give it a good hand. For the 50 pages, that's the best.
Are you playing anything, ma'am? We can't hear, can't see anything.
We
We can
can't
only
hear.
see you.
Yeah, उसका voice
We can only
हुई
see.
है. अच्छा मैंने तुम्हारे को steps वाला वीडियो नहीं दिखाया ना? I can show you one sample of the steps. अरे I'll have to open it first. No? अच्छा हाँ इसका वॉल्यूम ही लो था. Okay.
Turn website layouts into an art form.
Okay, now I think I can share it. Where is Chrome? Okay, yeah, got it.
Can't hear, ma'am.
Okay. Let me do the
While
sharing.
you,
I'll share the.
while sharing, you have to also share audio also.
I'll share the
An
audio
option.
because sometimes it works this way better. Sometimes it works the other way. Okay, I've shared the audio now and I'm restarting this.
That's
Tell
what
me
I
if
will
you
do
can hear
first. And let me first do it and then I'll tell you as I'm proceeding. This point is called karate chop point. When I'm going to refer to this point, I'll use the word karate chop point. And as I go along, I will
Yeah, I can hear you.
To begin with, the initial statement is that of concern which you want to overcome. Even though I'm not breathing very well, I deeply and completely love, forgive, accept, respect, honor and value myself. Even though I'm not breathing very well, I deeply and completely love, forgive, accept, respect, honor and value myself. Even though I'm not breathing very well, I deeply and completely love, forgive, accept, respect, honor and value myself. Having said it 3 times, now move on to the eyebrow point. Not breathing very well. To the end of the eyes. Not breathing very well. We tap 7 to 10 times, maybe 15. Below the eyes. Not breathing very well. Below the nose. Not breathing very well. Chin groove. Not breathing very well. These 2 bones that are jutting out at the collar, just below that. Not breathing very well. Below the armpits. Not breathing very well. On the lower ribs. Not breathing very well. At the junction of thumb, nail and skin on the side. Not breathing very well. 4 fingers, similar point, not breathing very well. Middle finger, similar point, not breathing very well. Leave the ring finger, go to the little finger, not breathing very well. To karate chop, still I deeply and completely love, forgive, accept, respect, honor and value myself. Having completed this first round of concern, we now go on to choosing. So we choose what we want to replace this concern with. I choose to breathe well then. I choose to breathe slow, smooth and long. And I deeply and completely love, forgive, accept, respect, honor and value myself. I choose to breathe slow, smooth and long. And I deeply and completely love, forgive, accept, respect, honor and value myself. I choose to breathe slow, smooth and long. And I deeply and completely love, forgive, accept, respect, honor and value myself. Eyebrow point, breathe slow. Eye end point, breathe smooth. Below the eyes, breathe long, breathe slow, breathe smooth, breathe long, breathe slow, breathe smooth, breathe long, breathe slow, breathe smooth, breathe long. And I deeply and completely love, forgive, accept, respect, honor and value myself. While massaging the tender spot, take a deep breath in. By gently pressing and holding it, breathe out long. from the mouth. And now if I assess my earlier breathing pattern and now, I find if that was 1 on 10, now I'm breathing nearly 7 on 10. The breathing has improved that much. That's the effect of EFT. If I respond to it, that means it works for me. I can do it.
So that's the magic that people have experienced. Okay, so hope to see you all. Join my course and be with me and be the pioneer.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.